Welcome back to Take Two, presented by LeftRightPolitics.com, a discussion of the times and current events. I'm joined as always by Adam Makalak and Mike Pomerantz. Today, let's talk Tulsa. What's your assessment of the turnout and coverage of the rally and its implication of the race going forward?
I'll go ahead. Sorry. I mean, it's a really interesting situation as Trump continues to push this. Everything has to be great. Everything has to be the biggest thing, the biggest, the best. I have the best words. I have the best things. I mean, this is a guy who's an egomaniac beyond something we've ever seen, and that makes him a perfect candidate to be a politician because all politicians are normally closet egomaniacs. This guy he's out of the closet egomaniac, and it plays well for his base that seems to be shrinking. What I find amazing and really at the heart of the story is how incompetent the people around him are at either dealing with the narrative and the spin that is required to operate in a normal election cycle, and B, really ultimately his ability to not listen to his advisors. I mean, because it's one or the other. Like he's either has so much control, he's just foregoing everything they say, or they all are on the same page, and it seems like idiotic, behavior. I mean, look, there's a million ways to spin that turnout. Be like, look, our followers are in solidarity. We had a lot of people sign up, but because of all the stuff, we did social distancing. We're happy the people who came out. Or, compare it to little Biden's little thing where there was 4 empty seats out of 12. I mean, this is a joke. I mean, there's so many ways you could spin this in positive light, which is what we've seen, in modern politics for the last 50 years. But we're not seeing it now. We're seeing this like bullheaded behavior from the administration in every lie. It seems that they have to everything. These are the biggest things, and it's seemingly no other explanation other than the fact that Trump is obsessed with the idea that everything he does is great. So to me, you have to sit there and ask yourself, like, what does this indicate for the future? And it's just politics is going to look really different in 5 years. I don't think it's going to be the same. I just don't like where we're at and where we're headed. I don't think there's an indication of it because I don't think we're ever going to see another candidate as incompetent and as just so off the wall as Trump. Here we are.
It is it's such a fascinating psychological study. And if it wasn't that it affected so many millions of people in such a profound way in terms of policies, it would be a joy to just go through this and figure out all the pathology and all the pain and all the repression and all the projection and map that out. Unfortunately, that's not really the order of the day. We've got a president who has shown a lot of limitations in terms of governing, but has also shown a lot of success in terms of campaigning. He had a bad night on Saturday, and now the question is what comes next. I think it's going to be interesting because he is interesting. That doesn't even mean anything. I want to know what he's going to do, because you can lie to people about the amount of testing. You can lie to people about how serious the disease is, but to a certain extent, they see right through that. They make their own decisions. I think that's the biggest factor as to why he didn't get the turnout he wanted. But now he has to think about his sets of givens in this arena where he's supposed to be the best of the best. Again, we're not talking about his ability to govern or his inability to govern, but to campaign, to get people excited, to motivate that base. And something has got to change. And he can change and then say, oh, I was always doing it this way. I'm not as worried about the veneer that he tries to use to cover it, but I'm so fascinated to see if he can, I've been talking about this a couple times today. I mean, how is it that he can't accept doing an outdoor rally where he would get a lot more people? They would have the ability to be socially distant, and he could get that vibe back. Yeah. Trump, when it comes to campaigning, is like a basketball player who could get on a hot streak. He could start sinking buckets from everywhere on the court, and anybody on my side of the aisle who forgets that, we could be in for a very big disappointment. So I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know if he's going to wait for Russia or China to bail him out, but something has to change. And if he can direct his considerable Energizer Bunny type energy towards making a change to how he gets his message out, it might be a subtle change. For example, campaign outside a little more. If he can do that, then we'll undoubtedly have a closer race. If he is stuck with this instant replay of 2016, I do think it's going to go bad for him. But as we keep saying, there's so much time left. There's so many. If you just think about the 3 or 4 months we have between now and the election, and the 3 to 4 months that we've just gone through, I mean, the world is a completely transformed place, and that can happen again, or it could continue to happen. What will he do? I just don't expect him to just lay down in defeat. I think that there's going to be some effort to pull a rabbit out of a hat. And it won't just be shaking up the campaign team. They're going to have to do things differently, recognizing that people actually believe that coronavirus is a real thing. Thank you, Dolly. All right, I'm going to go on mute now.
Yeah, it's the dude is the ultimate wild card in many cases. I mean, he's just so unpredictable in so many ways because, I don't see how they wouldn't already have fired his campaign manager, the whole system. I mean, come on, man. Like, I mean, I think he might not do that just out of the fact that he's worried that it would send a signal that they faltered. I mean, think about that for a second. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's made a decision not to improve or potentially improve his campaign because he doesn't want to send a that it's going bad. That's like crazy detrimental to your own health situation there. I mean, and if that's the kind of decision, I mean, it could spin out of control. Now, will it? I don't think it will. I mean, I think people's like and favor of politicians, there's ebbs and flows of this situation, and at this time he's at a low. If the virus continues down this path, I think the turnout is going to be epically low. I mean, epically low. It really will. If the virus in the second wave truly is decimating some of these battleground states, it will. I'm sorry, I don't see any other possibility other than the fact that it's just the turnout's woefully low, and because of that, I think he could win easily with a really low turnout because the only people who are crazy enough to stick out, Biden needs those people who are pretty apathetic to turn out. He needs them to. Like, I understand, like, but most of these people who are doing the protesting, like I've said, and I believe it's the same people will not turn out to vote. They won't. They haven't in the past. There was a lot of people who went to the 2001 George Bush inauguration. I was there. It was one of my first eye-opening experiences to the uber politicalization and hatred that people have for an opposition government that they didn't vote for. I mean, you could see it happening now, right? Like, I mean, Bush was by all accounts, like most people hated Bush, thought he was the end of the world. And now they look back on Bush and you can see it's like, right, I was like, man, like really wish Bush was here. And that tells you something, right? That tells you where we're headed, and also where how far out on the edge Trump has pushed us with his rhetoric and lack of decorum and lack of respect for so many situations. And because of that, though, you got career politicians. It still plays. I'm going to say this. His 2016 narrative still plays. He's had 3 years to try to fix this stuff, and Biden's had 50, and it plays. I'm just telling you right now, like when you sit there and you go head to head and you sit there and Trump says, okay, look, this or that, and we're talking about a head to head situation. Biden's been a career politician for his entire life, entire adult life. He's been in the politics for 50 years or 45 years, whatever the number is, uber ridiculous. He was vice president for 8 years, not all that long ago. What did he get done? What did they do? The narrative works, the narrative plays. And so if that's what he sticks with when it comes to that weight, that measurement, I think beyond the rallies, which matter for Trump's psyche more than they do for the actual people, if they can figure out how to, get him up to really try to win. I saw an article just the other day that said, does Trump even want to win? People, questioning if he wants to win. Come on, dude. There's not a single egomaniac that doesn't, won't go nuts to try to win at Monopoly, let alone the presidency of the United States. So yeah, he wants to win because out of just sheer, ego. And his narrative will still play, which is, I've only been going at this for 3.5 years. You've had 45. I deserve 4 more.
Yeah, and I had these unanticipated headwinds, and it's no one could have
Absolutely
seen this coming. He's got a decent rhetorical path, I think, particularly with the insider status of Biden. I said before that Biden is in a unique position. Like, this is the only guy that he could beat because Trump is so prone to making his own mistakes, creating his own crisis. But at the same time, Trump needs that outsider status because he's not good at changing his shtick. And even though he's been in charge for 3 years, I mean, this is exactly what you just said. I'm just repeating it because it is right. I will tell you one thing I was thinking about as you were talking, and the insurgent personality, the disruptor. I mean, this is the age that we live in, and it has been for a while. And I think part of Trump's success comes from a feeling like, forget this PC stuff. Let's tear it all down. There's so much corruption everywhere. Like, let's just open everything up and see what we can come up with. The problem with Trump is that he does not have any ability to do a self-assessment. And the person that I was thinking of, who has the same kind of like, F the world, I'm going to do it my way, I'm going to say the things that people are afraid to say, is Howard Stern, who, I never listened to. I never really liked Stern. Stern has proven to be an incredibly durable, popular force in our country. And part of that is that he's self-effacing. He has a self-awareness. He's like, oh, I'm so ugly, or I'm too tall, and really that is his shtick. But it humanized him in a way that, although he's so irreverent, he's almost like, he doesn't have to say that everybody's been hard on him. He's like, I deserved for people to be hard on me because I'm this kind of imperfect human being. And I think that is a key ingredient, that if you're going to go with this super anti-establishment shtick and everybody's wrong, and yeah, it looks like I'm crazy, but I've got a reason for doing all these things and saying all these things and being so bombastic. If he could fall back on that, as opposed to what it seems like is underneath all of his stuff is, I'm perfect and everybody really is out to get me. And that is, neither of those things are true. I mean, he's been enabled out the wazoo, and certainly he's not perfect.
It reminds me, just as one last thing, it's interesting as you talk about how the PC stuff, I still think that plays in the reality of our nation as a whole. I think helps him in this case, where there are these what are perceived as overreactions. The Bubba Wallace stuff, I think, helps him, because it's like, oh, see, the NASCAR's my base, and they call you guys racist, and they're calling you racist because you don't want to vote for me. And yet, meanwhile, you got Sleepy Joe telling people he's not black. I've never said that in my life. All these things build up, and even in 2016, I stand by this today. I believe that there was a certain there was 2 or 3 campaign like election pushes for commercials for Hillary, and they were all about Trump, and they were him cursing and talking crap about people. And I remember sitting in my living room watching that for the second or third time that day, and I was like, I don't think they understand what they're doing, because it was a campaign, uh, you know, commercial for Trump. It wasn't, and people were like, I want that guy. I talk like that when I'm angry, and I want somebody who, and that's still a thing, regardless of our acknowledgement of that and his lack of decorum and his embarrassing, rhetoric and all these things that have built up. There's still a significant amount of people who want somebody to lead the country who's not, who's direct, who says what they mean, who's authentic, right? And Biden doesn't exude that in any way, shape, or form. And so the polarization of these two candidates is as clear as day, and it's going to be. It really comes down to turnout.
All right, that's all the time we have. Thanks for your thoughts. If you enjoyed our discussion, be sure to like and subscribe below, and we'd love to hear from you in the comments section. Thanks again, and we hope you join us for the next edition of Take Two, presented by leftrightpolitics.com.